It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And this is Gemini Ascendant, Sun, Moon, or Stellium for January 2024. It's a moon day right now with the moon on Antares, a planet conjunct Venus. For you, it's in the 7th house. And Mars hour with the descendant on Mars in Capricorn. So it's a Luna ruled ascendant and Jupiter ruled midheaven with Jupiter in your 12th house. I want to talk about January. So let's begin with where the moon is, and this is right next to Venus. Venus is going to be until January 23rd in your 7th house. So this is a good time to creating connections, to having something more than a casual affair, if this is the right time for you, for having win-win solutions to any conflicts that you may have had where Mars was going through your 7th house, and I can have a conversation, meet each other's needs. And this is going to be happening up until January 23rd. Okay. Then before we go to Mercury, let's talk about this Mars here on the descendant. Mars is in your 8th house, and it's going to be followed by Mercury and Venus along the month. So while Pluto is going to ingress into your 9th house. And this is the time of the season where your 8th house is going to be bombarded with a stellium of planets by the end of this month. And that means that anything that you've been swiping under the rug, you would need to be attending. So take a deep, long breath and take it every day, because there's a lot of work to do. Okay, there's a lot of work to do. Anything to do with debt, taxes, hidden stuff, setting boundaries on an energy level or astral level even. Thinking about kind of like your intergenerational problems. And this is to do with your higher education, with your philosophy, with traveling. So maybe it's about, should I take a loan to get a degree? Should I not? What will be happening? Do I get a loan forgiveness? Do I need documents for that? Traveling, okay, how does it work with my budget? Does my money make money? How about my investment portfolio? Does money actually work for me? Does debt actually work for me? And all of these things are going to show themselves up. And Saturn is very practical. Now, this is not news to you. Pluto has been in your 8th house since 2008. Okay, it's wrapping up. In November 19, it is out for good from your 8th house. But up until then, you're wrapping up things since 2008. And you know what happened when Pluto ingressed, and it's going to ingress again in January 21 to your 9th house. Oh, Saturn is in your 10th house. So your issues for you might not be just about studies directly, only through Jupiter, but more about career, promotion, being a parent even, or relation with the parents or the boss or something like this. Pluto is going to ingress into your 9th house, and the last time it happened, we had the bank collapsing. Okay, thank Adon Cheva for reminding us. So, banks, Swiss bank was collapsing, 2 big banks in America were collapsing, and we probably are going to see more such events right where Pluto is exiting your 8th house. You know, that is funny. But this is going to be affecting your travel, studies, international relations, even religious views. So the things that are being unraveled at this point in time, thinking about the Epstein list going out with the same like Miami Mall event, but it's kind of like all those things. How is this connected to you? Where does it meet you? Okay, eighth house is like, where does it meet you? It's this very deep psychological question that's become a cliche. Where do these events meet you? Because they are meeting you through an intimate partner, and eighth house is a house of intimacy. That is the things that are buried and under a rock. Saturn rules rocks, and this is you've buried something under a rock, and now somebody takes this rock, removes it, and it's like, oh, okay, and you have to look at it. So eighth house issues could be affecting your reputation. So hopefully you're not like a client on Epstein's list, because this is just the type of yoga that would expose you. But granted that this is not my viewer, yes, I like to have these jokes every once in a while. Granted, this is not your story, and this is not your reality check. It can simply mean that it may be affecting your reputation a bit when it comes to asking for a promotion. Also, your debt, your taxes, and stuff like that. So Mars is already doing the travel, but Mars is trining Jupiter, which is in your 12th house. I was trying, and sextiling Saturn, which is in your 10th house. So again, granted, it's not a bedroom scandal that you need to deal with. It can simply mean that you get the time to address how has things that have been hidden from you and things that you've swiped under the rug. You're like, I know that this is an issue. I cannot tend to this right now. And they have to do with taxes, with stocks, with rocks, literally, because Saturn rules rocks, mountains, I don't know. Agriculture even, okay? And how have those things been related to you? And now you get the chance to look at it. But you also get the chance to do something about it. So this is actually a good time for you. It's kind of like, if that had to be opened up, at least I get Mars exalted in Capricorn to address this. And Mars is ruling your 11th and your 6th. So yes, your health might be affected by this, or this is health insurance. Hopefully it's not like enemy or anything like that. It can also be your pet. If you have like a YouTube channel of like showing your pet, then this can simply mean that. Okay. Maybe you have forgotten something, or you've forgotten to fix the papers for your pet, and now you're being exposed. Okay, it's kind of like, hey, you're being exposed by some viewer that you didn't even know about. Like, hey, this person is like this and so like that. But it's likely, hopefully, not going to be like a cancel thing. More like I need to address this, and you get the energy to do so, to successfully address this. Now, January 14, Mercury ingresses to this house. So January 14, if we're talking about documents, if we're talking about words, if we're talking about communication, if we're talking about electricity and electric devices, technology, anything under the rug that you have under there, the rug is going to be pulled, and you're going to have to look at it. Okay? You're going to have to look at it. But with Mars co-present, you will be able to do it successfully. There can be litigations, because Mars, Mars, Mercury, jurisdicts. But still, you have the ability to address this and the stamina to tend to that, which is not often present. So if it had to happen, let you at least have the energy to pull this through. And Mercury has already been there. So I want you to think about the last month and a half, because Mercury has been retrograde there. Now it is direct in your 7th house, so you're patching things up with a partner, and business or romantic. And then it goes into your 8th house. So think about prenuptials, think about anything agreementy that you may have with another, with significant other, business or personal, is going to show up. It's already been there. Now you're just tidying things up. Okay, now you're just addressing this. Okay, this is important. And Venus is going to make her way to your 8th house on January 23rd. So the most of the months you're going to have Venus in your 7th house. Enjoy that time. As she enters your 8th house, first of all, you can have nice, intimate, intense sexuality with a partner, with a committed partner. But yes, 8th house is also to do with betrayals as well. So it's basically the house that you get after you marry. It's like it's your marriage and your prenuptials and stuff. Like, hey, let's get married. Okay, we need to sign a prenuptial. Oh, do we live in the same house? How are you with debt? Okay, all the real conversations that you're having that are to do with the practical things and arrangements and taxation and the ring as well. Saturn rules rings. So Venus there is going to get practical, but Venus also brings a win-win solution. She brings connecting things. So in the spirit of desiring to have a relationship, there are going to be some agreements that you're going to be doing, and also some arguments, Mars, that you're going to be having right now, so that you're good for the next cycle. Okay, and that again can mean anything relationshipy related. If there is an issue such as Venus is, I don't know, like a third party, and she rules your 5th house. So all in all, it's kind of like you have your committed partner and your love affair partner meeting. Yes, if this is the same partner, it should not be a problem. If this is not the same partner, okay, who knows what will happen. Okay, but you understand where the position is. But this is also your 12th house partner, which is the bedroom partner. So you want to make sure that if you are in monogamy relationship, that those 3 houses are the same person, and if they are not, then you will definitely need to be addressing this. Okay, so this is the yoga the sky is set up for you to be doing so. But if you are in non-monogamy, then it just means that you meet and you discuss kind of like where is the, if everybody's will, okay, where is the property going to go? It's like, or maybe your bedroom partner is kind of like, yes, we have an intimate relationship. I'm not your married partner, but hey, when you die, I don't feel like I want to be left with nothing. Not because I will be left with nothing, I don't have anything. It's kind of like, perhaps I do want you to kind of like honor me in a certain way after your death, also with material things or stocks or something like that. You might have this open discussion that's to do with the 8th house. Okay, in non-monogamy relations. Okay, we have non-monogamy relations. It doesn't mean that the wealth just goes to your marital partner. It is non-monogamy, and that's what it means, that the wealth spreads around, and you want to see how all of you feel about this. Even if you are in a don't ask, don't tell, especially when, Taurus is a fixed sign. So the bedroom thing is kind of like not really a casual thing. So that can be the issue for you. And it might be somebody was ashamed to say or to talk about, and now they address this openly. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't see that one coming. Okay, now you do. Deal with it. Okay, Mars there, the co-presence of Mars is going to assist you in tending to this, in addressing this, in asserting your interest, and it's also going to be asserting the interest of any enemies you may have. So everybody's going to know where each other stands, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just may be a little bit of shocking from a place that you didn't know. And why? Because we have Uranus turning direct. But before Uranus, I talked about Pluto. Pluto is going to ingress into your 9th house for 2 decades. Not yet, November 19. But January 21st, Pluto is going to ingress again to your 9th house. So it's wrapping up since 2008, wrapping up with your 8th house Good riddance, enough of Pluto, because Pluto has been creating oscillations. Okay, and I thank Sveti for that. It has been creating the oscillations, moving between extremes. So when it comes to the eighth house, you might have had no depth whatsoever, and then all up in depth, and then kind of like somewhat in depth, and stuff like that, or like complete trust in people, and then like, oh my God, I feel betrayed by my closest, and those experiences. Now it's going to do the same oscillations, but with the ninth house themes. What are the ninth house themes? Your worldview. So you could go from atheistic to orthodox, or you could go from completely orthodox to completely atheistic, heretic. You could go to from doing science in a very rigid, rigorous way to trying to channel science. Okay, channeling science, or science is art, and so on and so forth. Depending where your Saturn is, you also need to look where your Saturn is in the natal chart. You might be going from not traveling at all to having continuous travels around the world. Okay, from not having academic education to studying from from the first degree to the PhD. All of these things can happen. Okay, when Pluto is, and this is going to be 2 decades. So there's going to be some serious dramatic issues. How have the bank collapsing been affecting you? Okay, how have when the power was to the people, it was January to around March 2023, last year. How was this affecting you? Okay, where were you? What were you doing? And this is going to be dramatically playing as of January 23rd. And January 27th, Uranus is going to be direct in your 12th house. This is so draining that even when I say this, I feel like, oh, my energy is, oh my God. Yes, and the question is, Uranus turned retrograde 6 months ago. But some of the things that happened on the 22nd degree, one of the major things that we saw in the world happening was October 7. And the response from Israel. And the response from the world and the demonstrations. And Jews have their doors marked with the swastikas and stars of David. And Christians adding a mezuzah and a fish symbol to their doorways. Okay? All of that parade is going to be revisited at around April, month of Nisan, Passover for the Jews, with Jupiter applying to conjunct this Uranus on the 21st. The 21st is when Israel started to destroy Gaza. Okay? Destroyed the Hamas infrastructure in Gaza. The Hamas infrastructure is the entire Gaza Strip, not Gaza City. So, at the entire Israel, but if they plan to really destroy everything, they'll destroy this land too, because they have like the tunnels underneath everything in the Sharon, which is like central Israel. People have been hearing a drilling under the ground, so it's easier to identify with the steel build that. So it's like we want to destroy Hamas infrastructures, which basically this means also destroying Israel. I don't know where are you listening to this from. I just want to tell you, it doesn't matter. You could be like the most, you could be a Palestinian, you could be an Israeli, you could be a Taiwanese. We probably could not see those things like all around the world. And I want you to think about where you were at that time, because the things that are going to come adjoining is Jupiter, which is religion, Uranus, which is radicalism, and Taurus, which is land. It's also going to happen around the Son of Israel. And emphasizing Ukraine and Belgium. So, and those are not like, those are degrees that are potently destructive. And so I want you to also get to know what is the month of Nisan, what is this Passover things, because You could be the most heretic person in the world, but somebody around the globe is going to play it out to these stories. And I want you to think, where were you in October? Because that's how you're going to be affected. Okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen the exact same way again, but definitely, what was the story of Passover? Okay? So basically, it was like the Jews were in Egypt, kind of like the original Holocaust, and then Moses wanted to free the people. He got the kind of like premonition from God. So he warned Paro 10 times, and every time there was another disaster. The last disaster, the 10th disaster, and this was in Passover, all the Jews had to paint their doorways red, okay, with the blood of a sacrifice or menstrual blood, we don't know. And they had to paint the doorways red. And Moses warned Pharaoh about this. And what happened is that every first boy in every Egyptian household, regardless of the status, was found dead, was killed. And they call this Makat Bechorot. It's the curse of the first boy. Okay? Egypt's story is something that Jewish, even secular Jews know this. Because I think, do we read the Haggadah in Passover? No, we're very hungry. Do we first eat and then read the Haggadah in Passover? Okay, it doesn't matter that you could be like completely heretic. You would still be either invited to some place. Where are you in Passover? It's kind of like the Thanksgiving. I don't know the equivalent in like Muslim cultures or other indigenous cultures. But the thing is that somebody is going to play on this, and the Egypt story is considered like the original Holocaust. So there is a lot of narrative in the Jewish community that says never again is now. That was what people are saying in October. Okay, the never again is now, and they're saying about the Holocaust, but they also say, think of if the Holocaust is a story, there are Holocaust survivors starving in Israel today, since the Holocaust. Okay, if you didn't make it on your own, what you got was not sufficient enough for medication and food together, let alone housing. So the thing is that if the Holocaust causing to say people, this is a Holocaust, this is never again is now, then imagine Egypt. Okay, you could be the most complete heretic living in the Eckwelt. Okay, some Jewish doorway around your neighborhood might have been affected. So you're going to be revisiting that. And the whole world is going to be revisiting that. How? We don't know. Uranus is bringing the unexpected. So this is something that you want to keep in mind is happening in April. I already talked about this now. And think like, where were you? What happened? Okay, what are these things? Jupiter Uranus, it brings a lot of great things, the development of science and radical breakthroughs. And it's also fundamentalist religion and fundamentalist ideology, even if it is the most heretic. Okay, if Uranus is weird ideology, then Jupiter is religious, philosophy. And Taurus is land, is also women, is creativity, sensuality, and so on and so forth. We think about the women in Harvard is saying, oh, it is okay to rape if it is oppressed people raping supposedly colonizers. Okay, think about those ideas and think about how do the communities that were the victims of that are feeling, how has this changed their worldview? Okay, then and there is a very big collision that is also involved here. Yes, think about, yes, it's already applying to trine Pluto. Sedna is out there, okay? This is your 12th house. So 12th house can be exile. It can be a place of refugee. It can be hospitals. It can be jails. It can be retreat. It can be the bedroom. It can be many things. So this is why I want you to go back to October and understand that there is something coming. Okay, you could be having dreams, premonition, astral projection, people trying to astral project to your energy, like all that stuff. And this particular topic now, this is what we know. Of course, there are a lot of things that we're not aware of, more or less aware of. Think of 2030. Yes, the nodes are going to be in your sign. You're going to have Ketu in your sign. So think of 2030. Okay. And I want you to think about COVID, because this is where you're going to have a nodal reversal from the COVID time. So even if you don't have Rahu and Ketu in your first or seventh axis, that's like we're coming through to that again, but with industrialized city and so on and so forth, 15-minute city. So yes, those are heavy topics. Those are some heavy topics. But I want to take you to the good news. And the good news is, as of 27 January, up until around April, I saw 2, but Lada saw 12, so probably Lada is right. We're going to have all the planets moving direct. Okay, before we talk about lunations, all the planets are going to be moving direct for 3 months or so. And that means for you, any creative project you need to launch, anything you need to tend to, anything you need to finish with the moon decreasing, is a good time to elect to finish, to wrap up things. With the moon increasing, it's a good time to launch things, to start things. The first letter of your first book might be written at that time. I know that I'm probably scheduled to do so because God thinks I probably should. Everybody's been telling me to do that, and this is a good election that we're going to have around this time, so I should probably do this. I don't know what will come up, but yes, let's hope so. And if you have such thing, then to start, like the first sentence, the first word, a completely new project. Again, not something that you planned, it is completely new project. Hit the go. You may be something that you planned, but some of you haven't started yet. So you haven't created the foundation yet. Okay, now it's the time. As of January 27, find a good election. For foundation, you want the moon growing. For culmination, you want the moon decreasing. Okay, I might do a separate episode of trying to look like good elections for me. I know Chris Brennan and Lisa Scheim did their yearly electional stuff, and they offer it for purchase. So I haven't seen like the cost or something like that. I would definitely invest in something like this, or go to an electional astrologer. There's Kyra Ryberg. I think Heloise. I don't know if she still do consultations, but there are great electional astrologers. I don't know if Lisa receives consultations, private consultations. She's another great electional astrologer that is not so like esoteric as, or she's working with the I Ching, I think, but depending on what do you look for? Okay, do you look for someone who's going to give you like a talisman to do with this or something like this? Then that can, these are people that can do electional. And so that is stronger. Like I strongly recommend, if you do have the budget to get a personal reading, I cannot offer this. Okay, it's not that I wouldn't know. It's just that the time it would take me, you would have to pay me so much that it's not going to be economical for you. And there are people who are very skilled at this and do this for a long time, and it's good to go there. I recommend you to do this, because if it's something that you are launching, it's very important for you, and you want to put time and money in doing that, and you have the time and money, so allocate the time and money. It can be up to 300 pounds or dollars, and it's worth investing in, because you're setting the foundations in a very good window of election, and you're going to look at your natal chart. This is something worth investing. Okay, it's something worth investing in, because that's just tremendously good time to do these things. And we're not going to have we're not going to have that with the eclipses in April. We only have 4 eclipses this year. They're more than enough. Okay, so now let's talk about the lunations. January 11, we have a new moon in 20 degrees Capricorn. This is your 8th house. So your 8th house is lit. It's going to be separating from a trine to Uranus retrograde. And it's ruling your 2nd and 3rd house. Okay, so money talks a lot at this time. And it's probably going to be about values and money and valuables and your kind of like your income or your business. It's actually a good thing, okay? It's draining because it's 8th house, but it's the kind of draining that you're like, oh, well, it's kind of like you dread getting there, but when you actually get there, you see that, hey, it might not be as horrible, or at least now you get like, now you're doing this. You get this, and it's something that you start. So if it is foundations around taxation, opening up, company, registering a company, registering yourself if you're self-employed, okay, it's an entrepreneur, whatever. It's like you dread going there, but when you actually do this, you're like, oh, thanks God, I'm after that. And so, but this happens with the Uranus retrograde in your 12th house. So yes, what's starting now is going to be a 6 months of kind of like somebody sitting in the background telling you, remember when? So all the planets are going to be direct, and then you're going to have this voice, remember when Uranus was on the 19th degree retrograde and had a new moon in your 8th house? Okay, you're like, yeah, I do. But you're gonna need this, because this remember when might be the tax, officer, clerk, kind of like sitting on your shoulder, or like an accountant reminding you, do you remember when we had this meeting, you had a huge fine that you had to pay? And like, yeah, you're right. And you're going to go and be more aligned because you remember that. Okay, so that's pretty much what this lunation can mean for you. And then we have the final lunation this month. It is a full moon in Leo, 5 degrees Leo, with the sun in 5 degrees Aquarius, in a T-square with Jupiter in your 12th house. That is resolved in your 4th house, again with Mars conjuncting Mercury, right where the sun is right now, actually. No, not where the sun. Yeah, 14 degrees, something like this. Capricorn. So this is, full moons are culminations. It's like you see the fruit of something, and now after you pick up the fruit, the plant goes into its bare sleep and it sheds leaves and it looks like it's going to die, but it's actually just sleeping. It's going to be reawakening next season, if it's biannual or something, at least more than annual. Now, what I want you to be particularly looking at is the resolution, because the resolution is going to be applying to Uranus in your 12th. So you're going to have a sudden eureka to do with your 12th house. It can range anywhere from how your sexual fantasies affect your relationships with what's it, 3rd house, your neighbors, and siblings, and your professors in university. 2, how your is there a hidden enemy that is involved, that is involved in the situation that you experience with your near siblings, with your short-term travel, long-term travel? Gives you something, and your partner can be having a hidden interest right now. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's just malefic or something. It just means something that you don't know, that you're not aware of. Unfortunately, this can also be a sign of betrayal, but it doesn't have to be like these harsh stories. It does touch on, it is resolved in your 8th house. So it's resolved by addressing something that was put under the rug. So what can that be? Okay, 3rd house, communication, vehicles, your schedule, short-term travel. 9th house, your worldview, academic studies, your teachings, international relations, or travel. And 12th house, stuff gets to the place that you didn't know that you didn't know. So you can range anywhere from the bedroom, or somebody can put you in prison or hospital, or being a refugee or exile or anything like that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Okay, Jupiter is already in your 12th, Uranus is already in your 12th since 2018, which is time to wrap up like the Uranus themes. But the resolution to what is like, you suddenly realize there's another detail that you discover from your 12th house, like, oh, I didn't know that. And I didn't know there was even an issue between us. Okay, for example, your partner is going to reveal some hidden issue that they had with you, or maybe your partner even have like a hidden sexual fantasy and you're like, oh shit, that triggers me. Why does it even trigger me? Oh, that reminds me of, and this is in the 8th house. Now Mars is exalted in the 8th house, Mercury is going to be there, Venus is going to be there, and you actually get the time to address this. Venus is also the ruler of your 12th, so it can literally be like a hidden trauma or trigger you have around something of the bedroom that you experience with your partner. Yes, hopefully not your boss. And I won't go darker with these jokes. But the thing is that by addressing, first of all, something's going to be revealed to you, and by addressing what was swiped under the rug, you resolve it. So it can definitely be some sort of a trigger. Okay, or it can be, because it's also ruling hotels. So you might want to have a vacation or hotel somewhere really far, and with what Uranus is going to do, it's like, okay, I totally get you. You're totally right. To want to be somewhere around far, like some hotels and somewhere, but you have to address your budget together. Okay, and you're going to be doing that. Hey, we can't afford to not have this vacation. Okay, the baby boomers of the COVID are very much going to be due to that. People were locked down, and then everybody took a vacation. You could not find a needle in the airport. Everybody took a vacation. Nobody had the money. Nobody had the budget. Everybody was losing jobs. Even if people were refinding themselves as entrepreneur, when you start a business, you just begin a business, it doesn't just become profitable suddenly. Okay, you just begin the business. So it's not like anybody had the money. Okay, but they had to get into debt because they wanted to save their marriage. Now, what happens when you're in a hotel on a vacation and you're so stressed that the only outlet you have is basically to have sex? Okay, baby boom. So you might be dealing with that. Okay, you get where this can go. So it can range anywhere from, like, we want to have this vacation, or we want to have this sexual fantasy and I have a trigger. We want to have this vacation at the hotel. We found a nice hotel, but it's cost a lot of money. We're going to have to get into debt for that. Oh shit, and then the accountant. Remember the accountant from the 11th? And they're going to go, you remember when? And then you're going to say, oh shh. But we need this for our marriage, because if we're not going to have a marriage, then all of these things collapses and I suicide, and then what will be with you? You're going to have one less client. Okay, I just remind you that when Uranus was retrograded 19 degree, we were having a New Year's resolution for our accountants in your business. Okay, those are the type of convos you're going to be having. So highlights for you: use February and March to start and end things smoothly. Not your life. And I'll end with that.